3, 2, 1, Rhinox!
I used to watch Beast Wars, which was like one of my favorite TV shows. And when I read the script and I found out that Primal and Cheetor and all of the beasts from Beast Wars were gonna be in this movie, or most of them, I was like very excited.
When I read the actual script, it was hard to say no. You know, I had like ideas and thoughts that I wanted to implement, characters that I actually love on screen, or at least in the cartoons that I wanted to bring to on screen. And I just started to like, you know, really dive into it, and that's how the Transformers came about. Paramount had asked me, and yeah, they felt like I was probably the right guy for it and had a certain amount of knowledge, but also heart, you know, in terms of like what I want to bring to the table with the characters, so.
What we set out to do in this movie was add heart and spectacle and really make sure the two stuck together and that they served each other. The spectacle in this case is taking, we're shooting in Montreal, we're shooting in New York, we're shooting in Iceland, we're shooting in Cusco, we're shooting in the jungle, and we're shooting in Machu Picchu. We're taking you to Incan ruins, we're taking you to fabulous old Spanish colonial cities and deep, deep jungle. So it was really a big experience.
Stephen Caple was like, yo, like, our director, Stephen Caple Jr. was like, what do you want to bring to this movie? Like, what is your goal? I said, more than anything, I really want to bring heart to this film. I want people to not only care about the robots, but to care about the humans, and to care about the relationship between the humans and the robots. Like, why do we need the humans, right? We need them just as much as the robots, and vice versa, you know, and get into the heart of that.
We have to prove why we need the humans, why humans are important. It's all about humanity, you know, and all about hearts and feelings. And essentially, if you're robots, you don't really feel. So how do you get that emotion if Mirage can't cry or Eraser can't cry? You get it from the people.
The movie's Transformers Rise of the Beast technically is Transformers like 7, right? And so you're always trying to find unique ways for the humans to interact and or meet the robots. And so in this particular case, I thought it'd be interesting if we flipped it on his head a bit, right? And so you have Noah, this character who thinks he's about to steal a car, and turns out he's getting stolen by the car. He goes on this wild cop car chase through New York City, which is really hard to shoot by the way, in terms of a car chase sequence. And while he's going through this chase, he's starting to build a relationship with the car, even though he hasn't seen or met Mirage, the robot, yet. And so if you take a look at that sequence, we're really diving into their relationship and building this sort of unique back and forth as they're talking to each other, even though he's never even heard Mirage, AKA Pete Davidson's voice yet. And so he's interacting just through the driving itself, so we get a glimpse of Mirage as a character with his driving technique. He rides fast, he's a little bit of a showboat, the way he turns corners, he's a risk taker. You know, you can see he's kind of like the rebellious Autobot, so to speak.
I play Noah Diaz. He is from Brooklyn, he was former military, and Noah's just trying to find a way to support his family. He wants to do the right thing. Sometimes he doesn't quite know what that is, but at the core of his decision making, he just wants to do the right thing. He wants to take care of his people. He wants to take care of the ones he loves, and you quickly start to see that affinity and that love he has for his family. He begins to have for Mirage and Elena, and the Autobots in general.
We really settled on Mirage and Pete Davidson, who actually ad-libbed a lot, some of his character moments. And so they built a bond over just kind of how goofy and crazy Mirage is, you know, right off the rip. So you could kind of like him. There's like this warm feeling. You're like, I do want to go on an adventure with this guy.
We're bringing in the beasts. They've been guarding a secret, which we'll come to learn. And it is the Autobots and the beasts that will combine to repel, hopefully, or the world's at stake, the bad guys. I think it's going to be really fun, and there's a lot of, for core fans, there are so many things in here that I'm not going to divulge, but there are things that it's going to blow their mind that we put them in the movie.
Unicron is in our film, and so the Unicron graphic novel was really a big, huge influence on what I wanted to bring to the franchise. He is a character that was always kind of looming in the background in the Bayesverse, you know, in terms of the movies that he created, and we never got to really see the live action version of Unicron, and that was huge. So with the colors and how I wanted to implement this sort of godlike figure, all really came from the graphic novel and the old 1986 cartoon movie. So the design is kind of like based off of that, as well as even some of the score and music cues we took from the 1986 cartoon movie, just to sort of create his own and unique sound. So I was very influenced by the nostalgia and what was done in the past to create the Transformers that we see today.
When Steven heard Beast Wars, he grew up on that part of the franchise and loved it and completely bought into it. So in a way, he gave us the courage to say, well, let's make a Beast Wars movie. It's gonna be cool. It's not gonna be, you know, too far over the line.
I got emotional meeting Peter Cullen, and you would think it's because it's Peter Cullen, he's the voice of Optimus Prime, but it was honestly how sweet he was. And so I got, you know, very emotional after our first session because the way Optimus Prime sounds, it's not how Peter Cullen talks, you know what I mean? Like Peter Cullen gets behind that mic, you see his eyes sort of dim and he goes deep into Optimus Prime mode. You're like, whoa, this is really happening. I could not like believe it, and like I'm hearing it in the ADR booth and I'm just like, whoa, this is amazing. He has the presence of a giant, and it just was just an amazing experience. Ron Perlman came about because one, it's Ron Perlman, and two, he actually was Optimus Primal in a cartoon before. So like I actually heard his voice before as Primal, and I was like, oh wow, this is actually pretty cool. Like I dug it, and so when I brought him in and had a conversation with him, he was like, man, I'll be glad to actually voice Optimus Primal again. And I don't want to say it was like having a second shot, but he had ideas too that he would want to, you know, make a little different from what he had in the cartoon. So already I felt like we had this sort of like, all right, we both are accepting the challenge of making Primal really stick out on screen. And he just felt like there was a sense of pride behind playing Optimus Primal again. And his voice always sits in that like baritone, dark, gritty voice, and I was like, that'll be great for Optimus Primal, you know, just because of the size and who he is. I think that up against Peter Cullen, I think we just had a nice bounce for back and forth between the two, and so that's how we casted Ron Perlman.
This movie's been challenging physically, I mean emotionally too. Like again, we want to bring not just the action to this. We don't want just the action to be dynamic and exciting. A part of that was one, I wanted to do my own stunts. I was like, as many of these stunts as I can do, I'm gonna do them. And number two, it was like every single scene matters. There's no scene that does not matter. Every word matters, every line matters. Like, you know, when, again, something I love about Steven is he doesn't waste a word.
What I think is interesting about Noah's journey is that in every Transformers movie, Optimus Prime and a lead human being are always close. They're usually close, and this is the first time in the film where they're actually bumping heads at the very top of the film. They're not friends just yet. Optimus has one agenda, and that's to get his people, the Autobots, home to continue this war that they have on planet Cybertron with the Decepticons. And so Noah is not in his peripheral, it's not his goal right now. And so that kind of combats with Prime's goal to try to just get his people back to Cybertron. Noah's goal to try to protect his sort of like bumps heads. And so you see these two characters who are trying to figure things out along this journey. Will they accept each other? Will they become friends? And that becomes really the heartbeat of the film, is whether or not Prime and Noah will ever work together. Will we break that line, that barrier from, you know, human beings and what we're considering these aliens?
Who are you, human?